The snow hits my face like a fist, stinging my eyes and blurring the tree line into a smear of gray and white. I can't feel my toes anymore, and the heavy pack on my shoulders feels less like gear and more like an anchor dragging me down into the drifts. I shouldn't have cut the trail, but the map in my hand is disintegrating in the slush, and the storm came out of nowhere, swallowing the afternoon sun in minutes. I trip over a hidden root, crashing hard into the undergrowth, and the air leaves my lungs in a painful wheeze. For a moment, I just lie there, staring up at the dark, swirling clouds, wondering if this is how it ends, freezing to death in a nature reserve because I thought I could handle a solo trek. If unexplained mysteries fascinate you, hit subscribe. Now back to the story. But then I hear it. It's not the wind. It's a low, vibrating sound that I feel in my teeth before I actually hear it with my ears. A growl. It rolls through the trees like thunder, silencing the storm's howl for a heartbeat. I scramble to my knees, adrenaline burning through the numbness in my veins. I'm not alone out here. I force myself up, grabbing a low-hanging branch to steady my swaying body. "Is someone there?" I call out, my voice thin and pathetic against the roar of the wind. "I'm lost. I need help." The response is a snap of a twig, loud as a gunshot, somewhere to my left. I turn, squinting through the curtain of snow, and I see him. At first, I think it's a bear, standing upright in the shadows, but as he steps forward, the moonlight catches the shape of him. He is massive, towering over 7 feet tall, his shoulders broad enough to block out the trees behind him. He isn't wearing a coat, just a thin, torn shirt that clings to muscles that look like they were carved from granite. His skin is pale against the dark fabric, but it's his eyes that freeze me in place. They aren't human. They glow with a predatory, amber light, pinning me where I stand. He takes a step closer, and the sheer heat radiating off him hits me, melting the snow on my eyelashes. He doesn't speak. He just inhales, a long, deep drag of air through his nose, his head tilting slightly as if he's tasting the wind. I can see the tension in his jaw, the way his hands flex at his sides, fingernails that are too long, too sharp to be human. "You're trespassing," he says. His voice is a rough grind of sound, like stones crashing together in a riverbed. It doesn't carry the tremor of the cold. It is absolute, commanding, and terrifying. I didn't mean to," I stammer, backing up until my heels hit the trunk of a pine. "The storm," I got turned around. He ignores my excuse, taking another step, closing the distance between us until I can smell him. Pine needles, wet earth, and something metallic, like old blood. He leans in, sniffing the air near my neck, and I flinch, pressing my back against the rough bark. He stops immediately, sensing my fear, and a low rumble starts in his chest, not a growl of aggression, but something stranger, something that vibrates in my own chest. "You're human," he mutters, almost to himself, as if that is the strangest thing he's encountered in centuries. "And you're bleeding." I look down at my hand, realizing I scraped it raw when I fell. The blood is welling up, bright red against the pale skin, and the man in front of me goes rigid. His eyes lock onto the drop of blood, and for a second I see the beast straining behind the human facade. The muscles in his neck cord, his lips peel back slightly to reveal teeth that are just a little too pointed, and the air around him crackles with a sudden, violent tension. "Run," he whispers, the word torn from his throat. But he doesn't move to attack. Instead, he turns his head sharply toward the deep woods, his ears, tipped with fur that wasn't there a moment ago, twitching. "They smell you too. Run to the cabin. Now." He points a clawed finger toward a break in the trees, and before I can ask who they are, a howl splits the air. It's close, too close, and it's answered by 3 more, a chorus of hunger that makes my blood run cold. The man in front of me roars, a sound that defies logic, louder than the wind, louder than the storm, and he shifts. I scream as his body contorts, clothes shredding, bones snapping and reforming, and in the space of a heartbeat, a wolf stands where the man was. He is enormous, a towering beast of black fur and silver eyes, easily the size of a draft horse. He doesn't look at me again. He throws his head back and barks a sharp, commanding order at the darkness, then leaps into the snow, vanishing into the trees to meet the threat. I don't wait, I run. My legs pump, lungs burning, as I crash through the undergrowth in the direction he pointed. Branches whip my face, tearing at my clothes, but I don't feel the pain. All I can hear are the sounds of battle behind me, the snarling, the tearing of flesh, the heavy impact of bodies colliding. I force myself to move faster, terrified that whatever he is fighting will win and come for me next. The trees suddenly part, revealing a small clearing dominated by a heavy log structure. It looks ancient, built from massive rough-hewn timbers that have turned black with age, with a stone chimney puffing a steady stream of smoke into the gray sky. I stumble up the steps, my fingers fumbling with the iron latch, and practically fall inside, slamming the heavy wooden door shut behind me. I slide down to the floor, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The silence inside is absolute and heavy, broken only by the crackle of a fire in a massive stone hearth that takes up nearly the entire wall. The room is warm, almost stiflingly so after the freezing cold outside, and it smells of wood smoke, roasting meat, and the same distinct scent of pine and wild fur that clung to the man. I scramble to my feet, looking for a weapon, a phone, anything, but the cabin is primitive. There's no electricity, no visible technology, just heavy furniture made of rough logs and fur rugs scattered across the stone floor. A large table sits in the center, covered in maps and carving knives. I grab one of the knives, the handle heavy and worn smooth, and back into the corner of the room, facing the door. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. The storm rages outside, battering the walls, but the sounds of the fight have ceased. I strain to hear anything over the wind, but there is nothing. Just the crackle of the fire, and the racing of my own pulse. Then a heavy thud vibrates the floorboards. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, and heavy, they approach the door. I tighten my grip on the knife, my knuckles white, knowing deep down that a kitchen knife won't do much against whatever is out there. The latch lifts. The door creaks open, letting in a swirl of snow and freezing air. The man, the alpha, steps inside. He is human again, but barely. He is shirtless, his chest and arms streaked with blood that isn't his breathing ragged and heavy. Snow melts in his hair, running down his face like tears. He closes the door with a firm click, sealing out the storm, and leans back against it, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opens them, the amber glow has dimmed, settling back into a dark, intense brown. He looks at me, really looks at me, taking in the knife I'm holding, my trembling stance, the fear rolling off me in waves. He doesn't speak. He just walks past me, ignoring the weapon completely, and moves to the hearth. He throws a log onto the fire, the flames flaring up to illuminate the scars that crisscross his back, old wounds, marks of a life spent fighting. "They won't bother us tonight," he says, his voice still rough but lacking the earlier edge of violence. "You're safe here." I lower the knife slightly, though I don't let it go. Who were they? What are you? He turns to face me, the firelight casting shadows across his face, highlighting the harsh angles of his jaw and the straight bridge of his nose. "I am the alpha of this territory. And those were rogues, wolves without a pack, without a master. They are drawn to the scent of fear and blood." He gestures to my hand, still dripping onto the floorboards. "Sit, you need to tend to that." I hesitate, every instinct screaming at me to run, but the warmth of the room is seeping into my bones, and the sheer exhaustion of the day is weighing me down. I move to the heavy wooden table and sit, watching him warily. He moves around the cabin with an economy of motion, grabbing a bowl of water and a cloth. He brings it to the table and sits opposite me, not asking for permission, simply taking my injured hand in his. His hands are huge, the palms calloused and rough, but his touch is surprisingly gentle. He cleans the wound with the water, wiping away the dirt and blood. I wince, and he pauses, his thumb brushing over my skin, sending a strange jolt of electricity up my arm. He looks up at me, his eyes searching mine, and for a moment the air between us feels thick, charged with something I can't name. "I'm Silas," he says, the name sounding like a secret. "Ilara," I whisper back. He nods, finishing the bandage with a piece of clean linen. "Eat, Ilara, you're shivering." He stands and goes to a pot hanging over the fire, ladling a thick stew into a wooden bowl. He sets it in front of me, along with a hunk of dark bread. The smell is intoxicating, rich meat, herbs, root vegetables, and my stomach clenches with hunger. I pick up the spoon, realizing I haven't eaten since morning. Silas doesn't eat. He leans against the hearth, watching me with an intensity that should make me uncomfortable, but instead it makes me feel seen, like I am the only thing in this vast, frozen world that matters. "Why did you help me?" I ask between mouthfuls. "You could have left me out there." Silas stares into the fire, his expression unreadable. "The forest is vast, but it is not cruel without reason. You were in distress, and," he trails off, his jaw tightening, "you do not belong in the snow, little bird, you belong in the warmth." I finish the food, the warmth spreading through my body, loosening the knots of terror in my muscles. I look around the cabin, really seeing it now. It's not just a shelter, it's a home. There are books on the shelves, though the titles are too faded to read. Furs are piled high in the corner, a nest, I realize with a start. A sleeping place for a wolf or a man. Can I stay? I ask, the vulnerability in my voice making me flinch. Just until the storm breaks. Silas turns from the fire, and the look he gives me is heavy, possessive. The storm could last for days, you will stay. It's not a question, it's a statement of fact, and as he says it, I feel a strange sense of relief wash over me. I am trapped in a cabin with a monster, but for the first time since I entered the woods, I don't feel like I'm going to die. The next morning, the silence is different. It's not the howling wind, but the heavy, muffled quiet of deep snow. I wake up on a pile of furs near the hearth, the fire reduced to glowing embers that cast a soft red light over the room. For a second, I don't remember where I am, but then the smell of pine and musk hits me, and it all comes back. Silas is gone. I sit up, wrapping the heavy fur blanket around my shoulders. The cabin is empty. Panic flares for a moment, irrational and sharp, but I push it down. He wouldn't have left me, not after last night. I stand up and stretch, my muscles sore from the run and the hard floor, but the cut on my hand looks clean. I walk to the window, wiping away the condensation to look outside. The world is blindingly white. The snow is piled up past the bottom of the window, burying the lower logs of the cabin. It's a fortress of snow and ice. I turn away from the window and explore the cabin properly, seeing things I missed in the dark. There are carvings on the walls, wolves mostly, chasing moons, running through forests. They are crude but powerful, full of movement. On the table, the maps are spread out, showing the surrounding mountains in intricate detail. I study them, realizing how far off course I actually was. I was miles from the trail, deep in the heart of the wilderness. The door opens, and I jump, spinning around. Silas enters, bringing a blast of cold air with him. He is carrying a massive load of firewood, his bare chest steaming in the warmth of the cabin. He dumps the wood by the hearth and turns to me, shaking the snow from his hair. "You're awake," he says, his voice morning deep and raspy. "I didn't know where you went," I admit, clutching the fur tighter around myself. "I patrol," he says simply, moving to stoke the fire. The storm brought down trees. I needed to clear the perimeter. He crouches by the fire, his back to me, and I watch the muscles shift under his skin as he works. He is terrifyingly strong, a physical specimen that defies normal human standards, yet there is a grace to him, a quiet control that is mesmerizing. "Can I help?" I ask. He pauses, glancing back at me over his shoulder. "You don't know the territory. You'd sink in the drifts." "I can cook," I counter, or I can clean. I feel useless just sitting here." Silas stands up and faces me. He studies me for a long moment, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Useless. No, you are not useless. You are a distraction, a necessary one." The way he says it makes my breath hitch. He walks over to the table, picking up an apple from a bowl and tossing it to me. I catch it instinctively. "Eat, then we will see." The day passes in a strange, domestic rhythm that feels alien to my usual life. Silas doesn't talk much, but his presence fills the room. I clean the bowls from last night, organize the supplies on the shelves, and try to make myself useful without getting in his way. He spends most of the morning sharpening a large, curved blade at the table, the sound of the stone against the metal, a rhythmic SHHH click. SHHH click that becomes oddly soothing. I watch him from the hearth, fascinated by the focus he applies to such a simple task. His hands are scarred, the knuckles large, but he handles the knife with the delicacy of a surgeon. "Why the blade?" I ask, breaking the silence. "If you can turn into a wolf, why do you need weapons?" Silas doesn't look up from his work. Teeth and claws are good for killing, but steel is better for controlling. Sometimes you don't want to tear your enemy apart. Sometimes you just want them to stop. He sets the knife down and looks at me, the amber light flickering in his eyes again. And sometimes you need to protect something fragile without crushing it. I feel the heat rise in my cheeks and I look away, staring into the fire. He is talking about me. I know he is. The tension between us isn't just fear anymore. It's a pull, a magnetic draw that I can't explain. Every time he gets close, my heart races, not from terror, but from anticipation. Later, he takes me outside, just to the edge of the porch where the snow has been cleared. The air is crisp and freezing, but the sun is shining, turning the snowfield into a blinding diamond landscape. He points to the tree line, showing me the tracks he found earlier. Rogues, he says, pointing to a set of prints that are messy, erratic. They don't move like a pack, they move like a mob, desperate. Are they coming back? I ask, shivering in the cold. Silas steps closer, shielding me from the wind with his body. He reaches out, tucking a stray lock of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering on the skin of my neck. The contact is electric, and I lean into him instinctively, seeking his warmth. They will always come back, he says, his voice dropping to a low growl that vibrates against my chest. But they won't touch you. The forest will run red before I let them take you. It's a violent promise, but it makes me feel safe. I look up at him, searching his face for any sign of the man beneath the beast, and I see a flicker of something soft, loneliness, perhaps, or a deep, aching weariness. Show me, I say softly. Show you what? Show me the wolf, not the fighting, just you. Silas hesitates, his hand dropping from my face. He looks out at the woods, then back at me. It is not a pretty thing, Alara. It is wild. It does not listen to reason. I trust you, I whisper, the words hanging in the freezing air like smoke. I need to know what I'm running with, what I'm running to. Silas stares at me, his expression unreadable, carved from granite and shadows. The wind howls through the pines behind him, a mournful sound that underscores the isolation of this place. He doesn't speak, but the air around him seems to thicken, pressure dropping like the onset of a storm. Step back, he commands, his voice stripped of the morning's rough warmth, replaced by the iron authority of an alpha. I obey, retreating until my back hits the rough-hewn logs of the cabin wall. The snow crunches under his boots as he moves to the center of the clearing, away from the cabin, away from me. He stands with his feet shoulder-width apart, head bowed, hands clenched into fists at his sides. Close your eyes, Alara, he says, though it sounds more like a warning than a suggestion. The sight is too much for human eyes. I don't close them, I can't, I need to see this. It starts with the sound, a sickening, wet crack of bone that makes my stomach lurch. Silas's body convulses, his spine bowing unnaturally. He falls to his hands and knees, a cry tearing from his throat that is half human, half something ancient. His skin ripples, dark fur bursting through the pores like a violent tide. His clothes shred, unable to contain the mass expanding beneath them. I press my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. It is horrific, it is beautiful. The transformation is over in seconds. Where the man stood, a massive beast now crouches. He is enormous, easily the size of a draft horse, his fur the color of midnight and storm clouds. He turns his head and I freeze. His eyes are the same amber, burning with an intelligence that is terrifyingly sharp. He pants, steam rising from his jaws in great clouds, and then he looks right at me. I expect a growl. I expect a lunge. Instead, he lowers his head, dipping his muzzle slightly in a gesture that feels painfully like a bow. He pads toward me, the heavy weight of his paws silent against the snow. He stops inches from me, his heat radiating like a furnace. I can smell him now, the wild musk, the pine, the copper tang of blood beneath the surface. Slowly, trembling, I reach out. My hand hovers for a second before I bury my fingers in the thick ruff of fur around his neck. It is coarse and warm, vibrating with the low rumble of a purr. He leans into my touch, his massive body pressing against my legs, grounding me. The fear evaporates, replaced by a dizzying sense of rightness. This is the monster the world fears, this creature who lets a fragile omega touch his throat. You, I breathe, scratching behind his ears. You're magnificent. He huffs, a blast of hot air hitting my stomach, and nudges my hand with his wet nose. It's such a dog-like gesture, so incongruous with his lethal appearance, that a startled laugh bubbles out of me. Silas, the wolf, tilts his head, confused by the sound, then nudges me again, harder, nearly knocking me over. Okay, I say, gripping his fur to steady myself. I get it, you're a tough guy. He chuffs, turning back toward the woods. He looks at me, then at the tree line, clearly impatient. You want to go out there? I ask. He nods, a distinct human gesture on a beast's body. The storm. He growls softly, cutting me off. He steps closer, blocking the wind, and nudges my hip with his shoulder. He isn't asking. He's telling me the storm isn't the threat. The waiting is. Fine, I say, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. But if I freeze, you're carrying me back. He doesn't wait for me to change my mind. He trots toward the trees, then pauses, looking back to ensure I'm following. I grab the heavy fur coat he'd left draped over the railing, wrap it around myself, and plunge into the snow after him. The forest is a cathedral of white. The snow is deep, up to my thighs in places, but Silas breaks the trail, his powerful legs carving a path through the drifts. I struggle to keep up, gasping for breath in the thin, cold air. Every time I stumble, he stops, waiting with the patience of a predator watching a lame deer, but there is no mockery in his gaze, only a watchful intensity. We walk for maybe 20 minutes, pushing deeper into the dense woods. The silence is absolute, broken only by the crunch of snow and the distant creak of branches burdened with ice. Suddenly, Silas stops dead. He freezes, every muscle locking up, his ears swiveling forward like radar dishes. I freeze too, clutching the coat tight. What is it? He doesn't look back. A low, vibrating growl rolls out of his chest, shaking the ground beneath my boots. He steps in front of me, shielding me completely. Then I hear it, the snap of a twig, not the natural settling of a tree, but the deliberate tread of a footstep. Silas, I whisper, reaching for the knife at my belt, the one he'd given me the night before. It feels like a toy in my hand. From the shadows of the tree line, 3 figures emerge. They are men, but they move wrong, too fluid, too low to the ground. Their eyes are wild, pupils blown wide, and their clothes are rags hanging off gaunt, scarred frames. Rogues, the ones Silas tracked. Well, well, the leader says, his voice a raspy scrape of sound. He grins, revealing yellowed teeth. The alpha leaves his fortress to play in the snow, and he brought a snack. The other 2 laugh, a hyena-like sound that grates on my nerves. They fan out, trying to flank us. Silas doesn't wait. He doesn't give them the chance to speak again. With a roar that shatters the quiet, he launches himself. He moves like a blur of black lightning, slamming into the leader. The impact is sickeningly loud, a crunch of bone and a wet thud. The leader flies backward, crashing into a tree trunk and sliding down, limp. The other 2 rogues shift instantly. It's messy, painful to watch. Their clothes rip, their bodies contort, and suddenly, 2 mangy, gray wolves are snapping at Silas's heels. They are smaller than him, starved and desperate, but they have the advantage of numbers. I back up, my boots slipping in the snow. Silas. He doesn't need my help. He is a force of nature. He catches one of the gray wolves by the throat, shaking it like a rag doll before tossing it aside. The second one leaps onto his back, jaws clamping down on his shoulder. Silas rolls, crushing the attacker beneath his weight, and rakes his claws down its side. The yelp of pain is sharp, cut short as Silas's jaws find the wolf's neck. It's over in seconds. The silence rushes back in, heavier than before, stained with the metallic scent of blood. Silas stands over the bodies, his chest heaving, steam rising from his flanks. He is splattered with red, a terrifying vision of death. He turns to me, and for a split second, the amber eyes are wild, unrecognizable. The beast is still riding the high of the kill. I force myself to stand my ground. I don't run. I don't cower. I hold his gaze, projecting everything I feel: trust, fear, relief. Slowly, the wildness fades. His ears flatten, and he pads toward me. He stops a foot away, his massive head lowering. He nudges my hand, leaving a smear of red on the fur coat. He's checking me, making sure I'm untouched. I'm okay, I whisper, my voice shaking. I'm okay. He huffs, then turns and begins to herd me back toward the cabin, walking close enough that his fur brushes my leg with every step. He doesn't run this time. He matches my pace, a lethal shadow guarding my retreat. By the time we reach the cabin, the adrenaline has faded, leaving me exhausted and trembling. Silas shifts back as soon as we are inside the clearing. The transition is faster this time, though no less gruesome. Within a minute, he is standing on 2 legs again, naked, shivering slightly, blood drying on his skin. He doesn't speak. He just grabs my arm and pulls me inside the cabin, slamming the door shut and throwing the heavy bolt. He turns to me, his eyes scanning my body frantically. "Did they touch you?" he demands, his voice rough, still carrying the echo of the beast. "No," I say, shrugging off the bloody coat. "I'm fine. Silas, you're hurt." A deep gash on his shoulder is still oozing blood, a souvenir from the rogue's bite. It looks nasty. "It's nothing," he dismisses, moving to the hearth. He grabs a cloth and starts to wipe the blood from his chest and arms, his movements jerky, aggressive. They were scouts. Sent to test the perimeter. "Who sent them?" He stops wiping and looks at me, his jaw set. "Rivals, the Black River Pack. They've been encroaching on the borders for months. They know I'm out here. They know I'm vulnerable." "Vulnerable?" I look at him, at the powerful muscles, the scars, the sheer lethal grace. "You don't look vulnerable." He tosses the cloth into the fire, where it hisses and smokes. "Every alpha has a weakness, Alara. Mine is this territory. If I fall, the pack falls. And if the pack falls, he trails off, staring into the flames. I walk over to him, ignoring the way he tenses as I approach. Let me see the shoulder. I told you it's fine. You're bleeding on the floor, I say firmly. Sit. He looks at me, surprise flickering in his eyes, but he obeys. He sits on the edge of the bed, and I kneel beside him. The wound is deep, but the bleeding is already slowing, a testament to werewolf physiology. I go to the shelf, find a jar of salve and a clean cloth, and return to him. This might sting, I warn. I clean the wound with water from the bucket, then apply the salve. It smells of herbs and garlic. He hisses through his teeth, his muscles bunching under my touch, but he doesn't pull away. You're good at this, he murmurs, watching my hands. I grew up in a pack, I say, focusing on the bandage. Omegas learn to heal. It's part of the job description. We patch up the warriors so they can go out and fight again. He catches my wrist as I tie off the cloth. His grip is gentle but firm. That is not your life anymore. I look up, meeting his gaze. The amber is soft now, warm. Isn't it? I'm still an Omega, Silas. I'm still running. You are with me now, he says, the words simple yet heavy with implication. My pack does not use Omegas as cannon fodder. We do not discard the weak. I'm not weak, I snap, stung by the word. A slow smile spreads across his face. It transforms him, softening the hard edges, making him look younger. No, he agrees. You are not. You stood your ground today. You didn't run. Most wolves would have fled. I wanted to, I admit. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But you didn't. That is what matters. He releases my wrist, his fingers trailing down my palm to linger on my fingertips. The touch sends a jolt of electricity through me, waking a hunger I didn't know I had. We need to leave, he says suddenly, his tone shifting back to business. Tonight, the attack confirms it. The Black River pack knows where I am. They will send more next time, an army. I pull my hand back, the cold reality rushing in. Where can we go? The fortress, he says. My home. It is the only place with defenses strong enough to withstand a siege. I thought we were staying until the storm broke. The storm is the least of our worries now. He stands up and walks to the table, unrolling the map. He traces a line with a scarred finger. We are here. The fortress is 50 miles north through the pass. It will be a hard run. The snow is deep and the terrain is treacherous. I can make it, I say, though my legs ache just thinking about it. You will, he says, turning to face me. But we travel light, we travel fast, and we do not stop until we are inside the gates. He begins to pack, shoving supplies into a leather rucksack, dried meat, the salve, the maps, a change of clothes for me. I watch him, a strange knot forming in my stomach. The cabin has been a sanctuary, a bubble of warmth in a frozen hell. Leaving it means facing the world again, the world that rejected me. What happens when we get there? I ask, my voice small. Silas stops packing. He looks at me, his expression unreadable. You will be safe, that is all that matters. And the beta, the one who hates Omegas. Silas's eyes darken. Jax will challenge you. He will challenge my decision to bring you in. But I am the alpha. My word is law. Is it? I challenge him. If your pack is as ruthless as you say, will they really accept a stray Omega, or will they see me as a liability? He crosses the room in 2 strides, stopping inches from me. He grips my chin, forcing me to look up at him. They will see you as mine, and anyone who touches what is mine will lose the hand that dared to reach out. The possessiveness in his voice should terrify me. Instead, it makes my knees weak. I am used to being unwanted, a burden, a mistake. To be claimed so fiercely, so completely by a man like Silas, it's intoxicating. Get dressed, he commands, releasing me. Wear the furs. We leave in 10 minutes. I move mechanically, pulling on the layers he provides. The fur coat is heavy, smelling of him and the smoke of the fire. When I am ready, I look around the cabin one last time. It feels strange to leave it behind, this little prison that became a haven. Silas is waiting by the door, the rucksack slung over his good shoulder. He holds out his hand. Ready, little bird. I take his hand, his grip warm and strong. Ready. We step out into the twilight. The storm has passed, leaving the world under a dome of stars, brilliant and cold. The air is sharp, biting at my exposed skin. Silas sets a brutal pace immediately, breaking a trail through the snow with relentless efficiency. I struggle to keep up. The snow is deep, the slope steep. My lungs burn and my thighs scream in protest. But I don't complain. I don't ask him to slow down. I remember the rogues, the blood on the snow, the promise of safety at the end of this nightmare. Hours pass. The moon rises, casting long, skeletal shadows across the landscape. We move through a dense thicket, the trees closing in around us like bars of a cage. Silas stops suddenly, holding up a hand. I freeze, listening. The wind rustles the branches, masking other sounds. Then I hear it. The crunch of snow, not behind us but ahead. Silas moves silently, pulling me into the cover of a massive oak tree. He presses a finger to his lips, then points. Ahead on the ridge, silhouetted against the moon, are wolves, not just 2 or 3, dozens. They are pacing, patrolling the ridgeline. A patrol, Silas breathes into my ear, his voice barely audible. Black River, they've cut us off. Can we go around? I whisper. Not in time, they're sweeping the valley. He looks down at me, his expression grim. We have to go through them. Through them, I stare at him in horror. There are too many. We don't fight them all, he says. We create a distraction, we run. He looks at the rucksack, then at me. He unbuckles the pack and shoves it behind the tree, burying it under the snow. What are you doing? We can't run with that weight, he says. We'll get it on the way back. If there is a way back, I mutter. He ignores me, stripping off his heavy coat. Take off the furs. Silas, it's freezing. Take them off now. I hesitate, but the look in his eyes leaves no room for argument. I shuck the heavy coat, standing in the cold in just my layers of wool and leather. Silas kicks the coat under the tree as well. I am going to shift, he says, his voice already changing, deepening, elongating. I will draw their attention. I will lead them to the ravine. While they chase me, you run, north, follow the stream bed. It will lead you to the pass. No, I grab his arm. You can't fight them alone. I am not fighting them, he growls, his jaw beginning to unhinge. I am outrunning them. I am faster, Alara, but I can't protect you if I am carrying you. You have to be fast. I can't do this without you, I plead, the cold already seeping through the thin wool of my shirt, biting at my skin. I'm not a warrior, Silas. I'm an Omega. I don't have the speed, the stamina. I'll die in the snow. His eyes, now bleeding into the burning gold of his wolf, lock onto mine. The human part of him is fading, submerged beneath the predatory instinct, but the emotion remains. It's fierce, terrifying, and absolute. He grips my shoulders, his claws already extending, piercing the fabric of my shirt. You are stronger than you know, he rasps, the words guttural, distorted by the lengthening of his canines. The bond, it will guide you. Feel for me. I will be the beacon in the dark. Do not stop. Do not look back. If you hear me howl, you run faster. Do you understand? I nod, tears freezing on my lashes. I understand. Go, he snarls, and then he pushes me. I stumble back, falling into the shadow of the oak. Silas turns away from me, facing the ridge line. The air around him seems to shimmer, the sound of snapping bones echoing through the silent forest. It's a horrific sound, a visceral restructuring of biology, but there is a terrible beauty in it. His silhouette expands, the heavy fur of his wolf bursting forth. Within seconds, the man is gone. In his place stands a massive beast, coat as black as the void between stars, eyes burning like twin embers. He doesn't look back. He doesn't hesitate. With a roar that shakes the snow from the branches above, he launches himself up the slope. He moves like a landslide, a blur of darkness against the white. He breaks the tree line, exposing himself on the ridge. The reaction is instantaneous. The patrol erupts into chaos. Barks and snarls tear through the night air as the Black River wolves catch his scent. They turn from their sweep, converging on the lone intruder. I see the flash of teeth, the clash of bodies as Silas engages them, not to fight, but to distract. He snaps at the flank of the largest wolf, a gray behemoth that must be the patrol leader, before feinting left, drawing them away from the tree line, away from me. Run. The command isn't spoken aloud, but it slams into my mind with the force of a physical blow. It's the alpha voice, a compulsion I cannot ignore. I turn and flee. The snow is deep, unbroken, and treacherous. Without the heavy furs, the cold is a living thing, tearing at my exposed face and hands. My boots sink into the drifts, each step a battle. I head north, toward the stream bed Silas mentioned, forcing my legs to move when every instinct screams at me to curl up and preserve heat. The sounds of the battle behind me fade as I descend into the ravine. The steep walls block out the moonlight, plunging me into near-total darkness. I trip over a hidden root, slamming into the frozen earth. Pain shoots through my knee, but I scramble up, gasping for air. I can't stop. If I stop, I die. I find the stream. It's a frozen scar cutting through the landscape, the ice thick and opaque. I move on to it, praying the ice will hold. It's smoother than the snow-covered banks, easier to traverse, but it's slick. I have to wave my arms for balance, skating precariously over the black water beneath. Minutes stretch into hours. My lungs burn with every breath, a fire in my chest that contrasts violently with the numbness spreading through my fingers and toes. I am alone, truly alone. For years, I was part of a pack, even if it was at the bottom of the hierarchy. There was always the noise of others, the scent of many lives intertwined. Now there is only the wind and the crunch of my own boots. Fear tries to claw its way up my throat. Fear of the dark, of the cold, of the wolves hunting Silas. What if they catch him? What if he falls? The thought sends a jolt of panic through me so sharp I nearly slip. I push it down. I have to trust him. He is the alpha. He is ruthless. He said he would outrun them. But I am just an omega. How far can I run before my body gives out? The terrain begins to change. The ravine walls level out and the stream widens. The trees here are sparse, twisted by the wind. I am exposed. I scan the horizon, looking for the pass Silas spoke of, but I see only endless white and the looming shadow of mountains. Suddenly, a twig snaps to my left. I freeze, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. It's not the wind, it's deliberate. I drop into a crouch, using the small mound of a snowdrift for cover. The scent hits me a moment later, wet fur, pine, and the copper tang of dried blood. It's not Silas. It's not the Black River pack, it's something else. A shape detaches itself from the shadows of a boulder. It's a wolf, but smaller than the ones I saw on the ridge. Its fur is a mottled brown, scarred and patchy. A rogue. A loner. It sniffs the air, its head cocking to the side. It's picked up my trail. Panic rises, bile in my throat. I have no weapon. I am weak, cold, and exhausted. I cannot outrun a wolf, not in this condition. The rogue takes a step toward me, lips curled back to reveal yellowed teeth. It's gaunt, starving, a creature driven by desperation. It sees me not as a werewolf, but as meat. I look around for anything I can use, a rock, a heavy branch. My hand closes around a jagged stone half buried in the snow. It's small, barely fitting in my palm, but it has a sharp edge. "Back off," I whisper, my voice trembling. The sound is pathetic, lost in the vastness of the night. The rogue growls, a low, rumbling sound that vibrates in my chest. It crouches, muscles coiling to spring. I tighten my grip on the stone. I am an omega, I am prey. But Silas's words echo in my mind. You are not weak. The wolf leaps. Time seems to slow. I see the saliva flying from its jaws, the madness in its eyes. I don't try to run. I drop to my knees, using the momentum of my fall to drive upward. I slam the stone into the side of its skull as it crashes into me. We roll across the ice, a tangle of limbs and fur. The impact knocks the wind out of me, but I hold on. The wolf thrashes, claws raking my side, tearing through the wool and leather. I scream, a raw, primal sound, and strike again. The stone connects with its eye. The wolf yelps, a high-pitched sound of pain, and scrambles away, slipping on the ice as it retreats into the shadows. I lie there for a moment, gasping, blood soaking my side. The cold is instantly numbing the pain, which is a blessing and a curse. I have to move. If it comes back with others, I force myself to sit up. My hands are shaking uncontrollably. I check the wound on my side. It's deep, but the bleeding is sluggish. The cold is cauterizing it as fast as it flows. I stagger to my feet. I can't stay here. I have to keep moving. I walk for another hour, or maybe it's a year. I lose track of time. The world becomes a blur of white and gray. My body is moving on autopilot, driven by the singular, desperate need to reach the fortress. Then I see it. Rising from the plateau ahead is a structure of dark stone and iron, silhouetted against the pale light of the dawn. The fortress. It's imposing, a brutal monument to power and defense. High walls, towers with narrow slits for archers, a heavy gate that looks like it could withstand a battering ram. Hope flares in my chest, hot and bright. I made it. I actually made it. But as I draw closer, I see the guards. 2 massive wolves stand at the gate, flanked by men in tactical gear, armed with automatic rifles. They spot me immediately. I see the rifles raise, the red dots of laser sights appearing on my chest. I raise my hands, showing I am unarmed. I am here for Silas, I call out, my voice cracking. I am with the Alpha. The men don't lower their weapons. One of them, a tall man with a cruel face and a jagged scar running down his neck, steps forward. He looks me up and down, sneering at my blood-soaked clothes, my disheveled appearance. Silas, he spits. The Alpha has been gone for 3 days, and you expect us to believe a stray Omega like you is with him. He sent me ahead, I say, fighting to stay conscious. We were attacked, Black River, he's drawing them off. Likely story, the guard scoffs. Jax, get out here, we've got a rat at the door. The heavy iron gate creaks open, and a man walks out. He is handsome in a cold, sharp way, with dark hair slicked back and eyes that hold zero warmth. He wears a leather jacket over a tactical vest, exuding an air of authority that rivals even Sila's. This must be Jax. The beta. He looks at me like I'm something he scraped off his boot. What is this? Found her wandering up the approach, beta, the guard says. Claims to be with the Alpha, says Black River attacked. Jax walks down the stone path, stopping just feet away from me. He circles me, inhaling deeply. I force myself to stand tall, to not shrink away from his scrutiny. You smell of fear, Jax says, his voice smooth and venomous. And blood, but not your own. He leans in close, his breath hot on my ear. You smell of the rogue that attacked you, and something else. A faint trace of Sila's, but it's old. Fading. He saved me, I say through gritted teeth. We were at the cabin. He sent me here to get help. Jax laughs, a short, sharp sound. Sila's, sending an Omega for help, he would sooner tear his own throat out. He is many things, but he is not sentimental. He steps back, his expression hardening. She's a spy, boys. Black River probably sent her to scout our defenses. No, I protest. I'm not a spy, I'm his. I stop myself. I was about to say mate. But am I? He claimed me, yes, but in the heat of the moment. Does that mean anything to his pack? You're his what? Jax challenges, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. His pet, his midnight snack, you're nothing, a liability. And we don't take kindly to liabilities here. He nods to the guards. Lock her up, in the cells. If Sila's returns, and that's a big if, he can explain why he brought trash to our doorstep. Wait, I scream as rough hands grab my arms. You have to listen to me. He's out there. He's fighting for his life. Save your breath, Jax says, turning his back on me. If he's as good as he thinks he is, he'll be fine. If not, well, we'll need a new Alpha soon enough. I am dragged through the gates, the heavy iron slamming shut behind me with a finality that makes my stomach drop. The courtyard is a hive of activity, warriors sharpening weapons, wolves patrolling the perimeter. But it all fades into the background as I haul down a flight of stone stairs into the bowels of the fortress. The cell is cold, damp, and windowless. They throw me in, stripping away my meager belongings, my boots, my coat, even the stone I used to defend myself. The heavy metal door clangs shut, leaving me in darkness. I curl up in the corner, shivering uncontrollably. The adrenaline that kept me going is gone, leaving me with nothing but pain and exhaustion. My side throbs, the blood sticky against my skin. I am alone again, trapped. I close my eyes, reaching out with my mind, trying to feel that tether, that connection Silas spoke of. Silas, I call out silently. Please, there is no answer. Just the silence of the stone and the distant drip of water. I don't know how long I lie there. Time loses meaning in the dark. I drift in and out of consciousness, haunted by dreams of snapping jaws and endless snow. Then a sound cuts through the haze. Not the drip of water, not the scurry of rats. A howl. It's distant, faint, carried on the wind through the ventilation shaft, but it's unmistakable. It's a sound of rage, of power, of dominance. Silas, he's alive. The sound is followed by another noise, shouting, the clash of steel, the heavy boom of the fortress gates being battered. I scramble to the bars of my cell, gripping the cold metal. Silas, I yell, my voice hoarse. I'm here. Above ground, the battle is raging. I can hear the screams of the dying, the roar of wolves. The fortress is under attack. Minutes later, heavy footsteps echo down the corridor, the sound of running. Then, the distinct click-clack of claws on stone. The door to my cell block flies open, smashing into the wall. Light floods the corridor, blinding me. A silhouette stands in the doorway, massive and heaving. Where is she? The voice is a growl, barely human. Cell 4, Beta, a guard stammers, terrified. The figure moves with terrifying speed. Silas, he is in human form, but barely. He is naked, covered in blood and snow, his eyes burning with a feral intensity. He looks like a god of war, fresh from the slaughter. He reaches my cell and grips the bars. With a roar of exertion, he pulls. The metal groans, screeching as he wrenches the door from its frame, tearing the hinges from the stone. He steps inside, the scent of him pine, iron, and raw power overwhelming. He drops to his knees beside me, his hands hovering over my battered form, afraid to touch me as if I might break. "Luna," he breathes, my name a prayer on his lips. "Elara." "I'm here," I whisper, reaching out to touch his face. His skin is burning hot. "You came." "I told you," he says, his voice shaking with a mix of rage and relief. "I told you I would find you." He looks at my side, at the blood, and a low snarl rumbles in his chest. "Who did this?" "A rogue," I say, and then, "Jax, he put me here. He said I was a spy." Silas's eyes snap up to the doorway, where Jax is now standing, flanked by a dozen guards. Jax looks pale, his composure cracked. He holds a pistol, but his hand is trembling. "She's a liability, Silas," Jax says, his voice lacking its usual confidence. "She led them here. The Black River Pack is right on our tail because of her." "Stand down, Jax," Silas says, standing up. He moves slightly, positioning himself between me and the beta. It's a subtle movement, a clear declaration of ownership. "She compromised the security of the fortress," Jax insists, stepping forward. "Pack law says she must be interrogated, executed if she's a traitor." Silas laughs. It's a cold, dangerous sound. "Pack law, I am the law, Jax, and I say she is innocent." "You're blinded," Jax spits. "By her scent, by the fact that she's an Omega, she's playing you." Silas takes a step forward, his nakedness and wounds making no difference to the aura of authority he radiates. The guards shift nervously, their eyes darting between their alpha and their beta. "Do you think I care about her rank?" Silas asks, his voice low and deadly. "Do you think I care about the politics of the pack? She survived the run. She fought off a rogue with nothing but a rock. She walked into the lion's den to warn us." He turns his gaze back to Jax, his eyes shifting fully to the amber of the wolf. "She has more courage in her little finger than you have in your entire body." Jax flushes red, his grip tightening on the gun. "I am challenging your judgment, Alpha. You are compromised. You risk the pack for a stray." "And I would do it again," Silas roars, the sound echoing off the stone walls, shaking the very foundation of the fortress. "She is mine, Jax, my chosen, my mate. To touch her is to touch me. To accuse her is to accuse me." The silence that follows is deafening. The guards lower their weapons, unwilling to be caught in the crossfire of a dominance dispute. Jax stares at Silas, hatred warring with fear. He knows he can't win. Not here, not now. Silas is fresh from battle, fueled by the adrenaline of the run and the protective instinct of the bond. He is unstoppable. "Fine," Jax grits out, slowly lowering the gun. "Keep your pet. But when she gets us all killed, her blood is on your hands." "She is not a pet," Silas says, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. "She is your Luna, and you will address her as such. Now get out of my sight before I forget that I need a beta more than I need to show mercy." Jax's jaw works, a muscle twitching violently beneath the skin. He looks at me, then back at Silas, and for a moment I think the gun might come back up. But the survival instinct is strong in wolves, even the ambitious ones. Jax knows when he is outmatched. He turns on his heel, his boots scuffing harshly against the stone floor as he storms out of the cell block. The guards follow, their eyes averted, their postures submissive. Silas stands there for a long moment, his chest heaving, listening to their retreat until the heavy iron door at the top of the stairs slams shut. Only then does the tension leave his shoulders, though the wildness remains in his eyes. He turns back to me, and the ferocity melts into something agonizingly tender. He drops to the floor again, ignoring the grime and the blood pooling around his knees. "Let me see," he murmurs, his hands finally settling on me. His touch is electric, sending a jolt through my nervous system that has nothing to do with pain and everything to do with the bond snapping tight between us. He gently peels away the fabric of my shirt where the rogue's claws raked me. His breath hisses through his teeth. "It's shallow," he says, though his voice is tight, "but it needs cleaning, and you're freezing." "I'm okay," I lie, shivering so hard my teeth chatter. "You're hurt worse." He glances down at his own body. He is a map of violence, deep gashes on his shoulders, bite marks on his forearm, bruises blooming across his ribs like dark storm clouds. The blood is drying, flaking off onto his skin. He shakes his head dismissively. "Wolf physiology, I'll heal by morning." "You," he trails off, his thumb brushing a stray hair from my forehead. "You are fragile, human fragile." "I'm not made of glass, Silas." "No," he agrees, his eyes dropping to my lips. "You're stronger than that, but you are mine to protect, and right now, I am failing at it. He scoops me up into his arms as if I weigh nothing. I gasp at the sudden movement, instinctively wrapping my arms around his neck. He is burning up, a furnace of heat that seeps into my frozen bones. I bury my face in the crook of his neck, inhaling his scent, pine, iron, and the musk of the wolf. It calms the frantic beating of my heart. He carries me out of the cell, stepping over the twisted wreckage of the door he tore from its hinges. We ascend the stairs, leaving the darkness of the dungeon behind. The corridor above is chaotic, wolves and warriors scrambling to repair the damage from the breach, but they part like the Red Sea when they see us. They see their Alpha, naked and bloodied, carrying the Omega they condemned. They see the look in his eyes. No one speaks. No one challenges. We move through the fortress, up winding stone staircases, until we reach a heavy wooden door carved with the pack's crest, a snarling wolf encircled by thorns. Silas kicks it open. The room inside is a stark contrast to the cold stone below. It is warm, lit by a roaring fireplace that dominates the far wall. The floor is covered in thick furs, the furniture heavy and dark. It smells like him, intensely masculine, safe, undeniably alpha. He carries me to a large four-poster bed and sets me down gently on the soft furs that cover the mattress. He moves immediately to the fireplace, throwing on another log, stoking the flames until the fire roars higher, casting dancing shadows across the room. Then, he goes to a basin of water on a table near the window. He grabs a cloth and soaks it in the water. He returns to the bed, sitting on the edge. "This might sting," he warns. He cleans the wound on my side with clinical precision, his brow furrowed in concentration. The water is cold, but his hands are warm. I watch his face, the sharp line of his jaw, the way the firelight catches the amber flecks in his eyes. He is terrifying, he is beautiful, and he just tore a metal door off its hinges for me. "Why did you come back?" I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Jack said you wouldn't risk the pack." Silas pauses, the cloth hovering over my skin. He looks up, his gaze piercing. Jack speaks from a place of fear. He thinks leadership is about sacrifice, about cutting away the weak parts to save the whole. He dips the cloth back into the water, wringing it out. He's wrong. Leadership is about knowing what is worth dying for, and what is worth living for. He finishes cleaning the wound and reaches for a jar of salve on the nightstand. He scoops out a green, pungent paste and begins to apply it to my side. The burning pain instantly cools into a dull ache. "I felt your fear," he says, his voice low, rough. "When they locked you in that cell, it was like a physical blow to my chest. I couldn't breathe until I got to you." He caps the jar and sets it aside, his hand resting on my uninjured hip. "I told you, Luna, we are tethered. You don't get to walk away from that. Neither do I." "Jack's called me a liability," I say, the word still stinging. "He said I led Black River here." Silas's expression hardens. "Black River has been sniffing around our borders for months. They didn't need you to find us. They needed an excuse. You were just convenient." He leans forward, his forehead resting against mine. "You are not a liability. You are the reason I'm still standing. If I hadn't had you to find, if I hadn't had that pole dragging me back." He pulls back slightly, looking into my eyes. "I might have just let the snow take me." The admission hangs in the air, heavy and raw. This ruthless alpha, this god of war, admitting that he needs me. It's overwhelming. I reach up, my hand cupping the back of his neck, pulling him down. Our lips meet, and it's not gentle. It's desperate, a clash of teeth and tongue, fueled by adrenaline and relief. I taste the copper of his blood and the salt of his sweat, and I don't care. I need him closer. He responds with a groan, his hands tangling in my hair, tilting my head back to deepen the kiss. The bond hums between us, a vibrating string that connects our very souls. I feel his emotions, his rage at Jax, his fear for me, his possessive, all-consuming need. It's intoxicating. He pulls back, his breathing ragged. "You need rest," he says, though his body argues otherwise. "And I need to shift. The healing will go faster if I let the wolf take over for a while." "Stay," I blurt out, the fear of the dark cell still lingering in my mind. "Please, just stay. I don't want to be alone." He studies me for a moment, then nods. "I'm not going anywhere." He stands up and strips off the rest of his tattered clothes, unashamed of his nakedness. I've seen him shift before, but it's different here, in the firelight of his private room. The scars on his back tell stories of 100 battles I know nothing about. He closes his eyes, his body shuddering. Bones crack and reshape, fur sprouting rapidly along his skin. It's not a slow, painful transformation this time. It's fluid, fast. Within seconds, the massive black wolf stands before me. He is magnificent. Even larger than the other wolves I've seen, his coat glossy and dark as midnight. His eyes are the same amber, watching me with an intelligence that is purely Sela's. He pads over to the bed and leaps up lightly, settling down beside me. He curls his massive body around mine, creating a wall of fur and muscle between me and the rest of the world. The heat radiating from him is incredible. I bury my face in his ruff, breathing in the deep, earthy scent of his wolf form. His tail thumps once against the mattress, a satisfied sound. I feel the rumble of his purr, a low, vibrating sound that soothes the last of the tension from my muscles. Silas, I whisper, my eyes drifting shut. The wolf nudges my hand with his wet nose, a silent promise. Sleep, the gesture says. I've got you. I wake to the sound of voices. Low, angry, muffled by the heavy wooden door. For a second I panic, the cold stone of the cell flashing through my mind. But then I feel the weight. A heavy, warm arm is draped across my waist. I open my eyes. Silas. He's human again, asleep beside me, his face relaxed in a way I haven't seen before. The morning light filters through the heavy curtains, painting the room in shades of gray. The voices outside get louder. I recognize one of them, Jax. I gently try to slide out from under Silas's arm, but his grip tightens instantly. His eyes snap open, alert and dangerous, before softening as they focus on me. Go back to sleep, he mumbles, his voice rough with sleep. Someone's at the door, I whisper. It's Jax. Silas sighs, closing his eyes for a brief second as if summoning patience. He sits up, the sheets pooling around his waist. He looks better. The wounds on his chest are scabbed over, the bruises fading to a sickly yellow. He looks at the door, his jaw setting. He doesn't know when to quit, Silas mutters. He swings his legs out of bed and stands up, stretching. He grabs a pair of loose trousers from a chest at the foot of the bed and pulls them on. Stay here. He walks to the door and yanks it open. Jax is standing in the hallway, flanked by two other wolves I don't recognize. They look like high-ranking enforcers, big and broad-shouldered. Jax's eyes sweep past Sila's, landing on me in the bed. He sneers. I see the stray is still sleeping in the alpha's den, Jax says, his voice dripping with acid. Comfortable, Luna. Silas steps into the doorway, blocking Jax's view of me. What do you want, Jax? I gave you an order. The pack is restless, Alpha, Jax says, straightening his spine. The Black River retreat was temporary. They're regrouping in the valley, and the sentries report fresh tracks near the eastern ridge. They're circling us. And you think discussing this outside, my bedroom door at dawn, is the best strategy? I think we need to discuss her role in this, Jax snaps, pointing a finger at the room. The men are saying she's a curse, that since she arrived, the fortress has been breached, that the Alpha is soft. Silas moves so fast I barely see it. 1 second he's in the doorway, the next he has Jax by the throat, slamming him back against the stone wall of the corridor. The two enforcers lunge forward, but Silas snarls, a sound that makes the hair on my arms stand up. They freeze. I am soft, Silas hisses, his face inches from Jax's. I tore a rogue apart with my bare teeth yesterday. I broke down a steel door to get to her. Do not mistake my mercy for weakness, Jax. If I were soft, you'd be dead right now for daring to question me. Jax chokes, his hands clawing at Silas's grip, his face turning red. The Black River pack is coming because they want what is mine, Silas continues, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. They are coming because they sense a shift in power. They are not coming because of an Omega. Blaming her is cowardice, and I will not have cowards in my pack. He releases Jax, letting him slide to the floor, gasping for air. Silas turns to the two enforcers. Get him out of my sight, and tell the sentries to double the patrols. If Black River wants a war, they'll get one. The enforcers haul a coughing, sputtering Jax to his feet and drag him down the hall. Silas watches them go, his chest heaving slightly. He turns back to the room, his eyes finding mine. He looks tired, the weight of the pack pressing down on him. I'm sorry, I say, sitting up and clutching the fur blanket to my chest. This is my fault. Silas walks back into the room, closing the door firmly. He comes over to the bed and sits down, taking my hands in his. None of this is your fault. Jax is ambitious. He's been looking for a chink in my armor for years. He thinks he can lead the pack better than I can. Can he? Silas raises an eyebrow. Do you think he can? I shake my head. No, he's He's cruel, you're strong, you're fair. Fairness doesn't always keep a pack alive, Silas says, looking at our joined hands. But fear does. Jax rules by fear. I try to rule by something else. It's harder. It leaves me open to attacks like this. He looks up, his gaze intense. But I would rather be challenged every day than be the kind of alpha who locks his own people in dungeons for convenience. He leans forward, kissing my forehead. Get dressed. There's something I need to show you. What is it? The fortress, the real fortress, not the dungeons, not the war room, the heart of it. He stands up, offering me a hand. If you're going to be Luna, you need to know what you're fighting for. I take his hand, letting him pull me to my feet. Luna, I repeat, testing the weight of the word. Jax called me that, but he didn't mean it. I mean it, Silas says, his voice leaving no room for doubt. You stood by me when you had every reason to run. You faced down a beta and a cell block. You earned the title, Luna. Now come. He leads me out of the room, down a different hallway than the one Jax was in. This one is narrower, lined with tapestries depicting the history of the pack. Wolves hunting, wolves battling, wolves standing under a full moon. We descend a spiral staircase carved into the rock itself, the air growing cooler, smelling of damp earth and food. We reach a heavy iron door, reinforced with thick bands of steel. Silas pushes it open. The sight that greets me steals my breath. We are standing on a balcony overlooking a massive cavern. It must be natural, carved out of the mountain by ancient rivers, but it's been transformed. Hundreds of people, wolves and humans alike, fill the space. There are children running through the crowds, women weaving baskets by the light of torches, men sharpening tools. It's a city hidden inside the mountain. In the center of the cavern is a massive underground lake, its surface still and dark, reflecting the glow of the torches and the bioluminescent moss that clings to the ceiling high above. This is the sanctuary, Silas says, his voice echoing slightly in the vast space. When the fortress falls, this is where the pack survives. It's where the women, the children, the elderly go when the fighting starts. It's the last line of defense. I look down at the bustling life below. It's vibrant, loud, alive. I see families eating together, hear laughter mixed with the clang of a blacksmith's hammer. It's so different from the cold, military efficiency of the upper levels. I didn't know this existed, I say. Few outsiders do. Jax hates it. He thinks it's a waste of resources to feed non-combatants. He wants to turn the cavern into barracks and armories. Silas leans on the railing, looking down at his people. But this is why we fight, not for territory, not for pride, for them. He points to a group of children playing near the water's edge. That boy there, his father died in the last skirmish with Black River. His mother is a human, like you. She has no wolf strength, but she runs the infirmary downstairs. She saves lives. He turns to me, his eyes searching mine. Being Luna isn't about giving orders, Luna. It's about protecting this. It's about ensuring that when the winter comes, and the enemies are at the gates, there is still a place where a child can laugh. I look at the scene below, really seeing it. These aren't just soldiers or pack members. They are a community, a family, and Silas is the father of them all, bearing the weight of their survival on his shoulders. I thought you were ruthless, I say quietly. I am, Silas replies, his voice hard. To the enemies outside these walls, I am a monster, because if I wasn't, they would slaughter everyone you see down there without a second thought. Ruthlessness is a shield, Luna. It's the armor I wear so they can be safe. I look at him, seeing the man beneath the alpha. The man who carries the scars of every battle, who loses sleep worrying about his people, who tears doors off hinges to save one woman. You're not a monster, I say, stepping closer to him. You're a guardian. Silas looks away, a muscle in his jaw jumping. He's not used to being seen like this. He's used to fear, respect, obedience. He clears his throat, the sound rough in the sudden quiet between us. The vulnerability hangs there, heavy and fragile, before he locks it away behind the familiar mask of the alpha. He turns back to the railing, his grip tightening on the iron until his knuckles turn white. Don't mistake necessity for virtue, he says, his voice regaining its edge. I protect them because they are mine. That is the law of the pack. The strong protect the weak. It is not noble, it is biology. I watch him, the way his shoulders are set, the tension radiating off him in waves. He wants me to believe he's a machine, a creature of instinct and violence, but I've seen the way he looks at the children below. I've felt the way he touches me, careful not to bruise, even when his own life is falling apart. Maybe, I say softly, stepping up beside him. But biology didn't make you bring me here. You could have left me in that barn. You could have let Jax throw me in a cell. You chose to show me this. Silas doesn't answer immediately. He stares down at the bustling cavern, his eyes tracking a young girl chasing a stray dog near the water. I brought you here because you need to understand the stakes. Jax isn't wrong about the threat. Black River is coming. They are relentless. If they breach the outer walls, they won't stop at the soldiers. They will come here. They will slaughter everyone in this cavern to break my spirit. He turns to me, his expression grim. If that happens, I need to know you won't freeze. I need to know you will run. I need to know you will help them get to the escape tunnels. I won't run, I say, the conviction in my voice surprising even me. You will, Silas snaps, a flash of anger cutting through his composure. You will because I will order you to. You are the Luna now. Your survival is symbolic. If you die, the pack loses hope. Do you think I care about my own life? I can be replaced. Jax would step in or someone else. But you are the heart I didn't know this pack needed. You are the proof that an alpha can be more than just a killer. He grabs my shoulders, his fingers digging in. Do not throw that away trying to be a hero. Heroes die young, Luna. Leaders survive to bury them. Before I can respond, a siren cuts through the air. It's a low, mournful wail that vibrates in the stone floor beneath our feet. The atmosphere in the cavern shifts instantly. Laughter dies. The blacksmith's hammer stops mid-swing. Mothers scoop up their children, eyes darting toward the ceiling. Silas reacts instantly. He pushes me behind him, his body becoming a wall of muscle and tension between me and the balcony railing. He pulls a radio from his belt, his thumb jamming the talk button. Report. Alpha, a voice crackles back, distorted by static but laced with panic. Eastern perimeter. They've breached the gate. It's not a scouting party. It's the main force. Repeat, Black River is inside the walls. Silas's eyes go cold. The fear, the vulnerability, the softness, it all evaporates, replaced by a terrifying, focused rage. He looks like a predator who has just caught the scent of blood. Get the non-combatants to the lower tunnels, he barks into the radio. Seal the blast doors between the sanctuary and the upper levels. Jax is to deploy the rear guard to the atrium. Alpha Jax isn't at his post. Command says he's gone to the armory. Silas curses, a vile, guttural sound. He's making his move. He thinks I'm going to fall, so he's securing the weapons. He turns to me, his hands gripping my arms hard enough to leave bruises. Listen to me. You go down the stairs to the left. Follow the red line painted on the wall. It leads to the emergency bunker. It's reinforced concrete, 3 feet thick. You lock the door behind you. You do not open it for anyone but me. What about you? I ask, my voice trembling. I have to kill Jax, he says, his tone so casual it chills me. And then I have to kill the Black River wolves invading my home. He pulls me toward the heavy iron door, but I dig my heels in. I'm not going to hide while you fight a war alone. I can help, I can. You can what? He roars, shoving me against the wall. You are human, Luna. You have no claws, no healing, no speed. You are flesh and bone. If you stay up there, you are a liability. You are a distraction I cannot afford. Go. He doesn't wait for an answer. He hits a panel on the wall, and a section of the stone floor slides away, revealing a narrow, dimly lit staircase spiraling down into the dark. Go! He shouts again, and this time the sheer force of his alpha command hits me like a physical blow. My legs move on their own, scrambling down the stairs. I look back just as the heavy iron door slams shut, sealing him in the corridor above. I stand in the damp darkness, the sound of the siren muffled by the tons of rock above me. My heart hammers against my ribs. I can feel the vibrations of the battle starting far above, explosions, the distant crump of grenades, the shriek of metal tearing. I start walking, following the faint red line painted on the rough stone wall. Every instinct screams at me to turn back, to run up those stairs and find Silas, but I remember his face. The desperation. He wasn't trying to protect his pride, he was trying to protect the pack's future. He was trying to protect me. The tunnel slopes downward, the